Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard with your host, Bill Stierle. And Bill, I really was intrigued at the end of our last episode talking about community rights versus individual rights. But in preparing for this episode, we talked about how we're really going to talk about the Three Card Monte of truth. Now, that is exciting. So we're talking about national rights versus community rights versus individual. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So those are the thing called the rights, the national rights. And it's really the national messaging, the community messaging and individual messaging. Those messages used to be what parties used to build their political messaging underneath. They would build, okay, I have a message about what I'd like the nation to do. I have the message about what's going to happen inside Main Street, whatever's going to happen in the community. And I'm going to have a message about what's going to happen to the individual, how this is going to impact, what are you going to pay your taxes for, and how that's going to contribute to the other two. So the problem, though, is that what has happened in the current environment, it's the old American identity, make America great again, versus look at how good the economy is doing, how big business is doing, because that's just look at the stock market, the best numbers ever, blah, blah, blah. And individual freedoms is the messages like you're going to lose your 401k, they're going to take your guns. These kinds of things, Tom, are the things that are being shifted between this dopamine 3-card Monte. Because when you're playing a game like, okay, pay attention to where the queen is, here's the queen.
Right.
And this is what the queen looks like. And the guy's doing the cards. Meanwhile, the queen is maybe no longer on the table, or he has done something to literally affect your visual perception of where the queen is. It's just like the chances of you getting where it's going, unless you know how he's doing the trick, you're not going to get where he's going because your brain has a blind spot. And that's how truth gets purchased with messaging, is it messages into the blind spot.
Wow.
So, it's getting purchased because the messaging is not one that's congruent with truth. It's congruent with the need of the trickster, of the card player. It's them allowing you to win one or two times in order to, well, I don't know, you're pretty good at this. I don't know if I want to play with you anymore. Oh no, just one more time. Okay, well, how about if we double it? Now, what the person doesn't know is that they're just going to lose whatever they gained plus a whole bunch more, because the trickster, the card player, is really in touch with where the brain's blind spot is. And the Republicans do a much better job of playing into their bases, blind spots, and conservative America's blind spot. They play into it, and it's in a disheartening way when somebody votes against their own interest. That is particularly unsettling. It's this thing took place, and that. It's just sad and disheartening, because when somebody identifies as I'm the good guy in a Western, here's the bad guy in the Western, and I'm the rugged, free individual person that doesn't show his emotions, even though I've been shot in the arrow 5 times with an arrow 5 times. It's like they're seeing that as the rugged individual. I'm a rugged individual because I'm an American. Now, all I got to do is do a message that's similar to that. This is what Make America Great Again does. So a Republican message that does that really can really sway, what takes place. So.
Wow. And I really noticed in your example of the card trickster, I guess, dealer in the Three Card Monte, where, you injected that doubt in there, right? Where it's like, well, you're pretty good at this. I don't know if I want to play you anymore. And that just made the person want to play even more. It was
Right.
the anticipation he was building of them winning and taking more of his money, which of course they were just being taken in because he knew he was going to win. There's no way he was going to let them win, and he's going to increase the stakes. So now you lose even more than you won in the first place, right?
That's right. That's right. Literally, I mean, with the tax break, that's what took place. I mean, it crippled this little thing. It made the healing of our economy. It pushed the healing of our economy 10 years out. It pushed it out. So,
well, and we're starting to see,
it made it unstable. It made it unstable.
Right. Yeah. We're starting to see cracks in the economy. We first earlier this year had the Federal Reserve actually increase interest rates for the first time in a long time. And now they've started to slightly decrease them again, and there's other economic indicators that this big economic expansion may be on the rocks. Certainly not going to continue being, as big and positive, as strong as it has been in recent years. So it's very interesting how. So you're saying that was it was almost like it was like getting high on a drug quickly, and we're going to come down from it.
That's right. Let's just detox you. You'll go to the hospital for 3 to 7 days of detox. Then you're going to go to a drug rehab center, and then you're going to go to a sober living, and then you're going to go to just see what I'm doing is I'm showing it's like a dopamine healing process, but it's based on language messaging and our nation, rather than why don't we just stop using the drug? Or why don't we just do some scary honesty about what real good fun is, what real good gambling is? Gamble from excess, don't gamble from lack. How about that as an idea? If you want to play and you want to bet on a game, if you're in a place of abundance, then play from that space. So, the SEC has all kinds of guidelines for people to become an investor. You cannot invest your house in a company. It's a risky stock. If this thing goes down, it takes your house out, then you don't have shelter. Then you become a burden on society. We are not going to let you gamble unless you have these standards. The only problem is that so many people are down there at the low end. There's only the big guys that get to throw money into the system, and they're playing with these various different numbers, and they're not helping the ground game. They're not helping Main Street. Main Street hasn't seen a blip at all. And if one of the candidates would learn a healthy style of Three Card Monte, then truth can move back on the Democratic side of the fence. The healthy side of Three Card Monte is not looking at the crook or the liar, the way they're labeling liar, crook. Don't use labels and diagnoses. The person's just playing a game. Just play the game better. It might sound like this. what the foundation of America is built around small business at Main Street. We're very happy about the wealthy being able to play on Wall Street. Most Americans don't play that game. We are going to represent most Americans. And yes, they get to play their game too.
That sounds really, really good.
Those are dudes. Now, what I just did was, here's the queen. I know how to play this game too. And as far as your health care goes, and as far as immigration goes, stand for a clear, compelling truth about it. Not, I'm going to work with the other side. They're not playing your game. They're playing the hordes that the masses are coming after after the individual rights. Your individual rights, your community rights are going to get run over. What?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's a card. It's a languaging card that's being played. That's the thing. The Fed interest rates, just another card.
Yeah.
What card? Their card, not the Republican cards, that other card. That is, if we just adjust this, it'll trickle down to you poor slobs down there. It's not trickling anywhere. They're not even in that game. Why? The SEC doesn't allow them to get in there. Because if they get in the game, they'll get sucker punched. They'll lose their house. They'll lose their family. They'll destabilize America. They can't let them in the game with 100, whatever, a bet. They can't. So that pushes them off into either spend your money on entertainment or spend your money on substances to numb the pain, or spend your money on the latest retail technical device that we can get you to buy. Ruh-roh. So this is a very different way to think about truth being purchased through language, is that, okay, I'm going to leverage this message about the American gunslinger. I'm going to message this thing about the Fed rates going up and down and how that's a good or not a good thing. Wow. I'll pretend I'm a Republican right now. You know what? The economy is going so good. It's so hot that the Fed is going to adjust the interest rates to slow it down so it can last longer. So President Trump can continue to see it's
and you spun it as a positive thing, but the way that the president has been talking about it, he of course demonizes the Fed, the head of the Federal Reserve, saying he's making the wrong choice, he's doing a very bad job, he's going to hurt the economy by doing this. And instead, Trump could have owned it and spun it to be
totally,
heads I win, tails you lose type of thing.
That's
really
correct.
Is that right?
That's correct. He could have, yeah. And he's just playing more on the fear side or the loss side of the Three Card Monte piece. This is the gambler that's going to bet again. And we talked about this in other episodes. It's it's whereas most of the bets made at a racetrack. Most of the bets are made, I think it's in the 73% or something like that, are made in the last 15 minutes before the bell rings to cut off the bet. And most of them are second bets of the person doubling down.
So putting more money on who they already were behind.
That's correct. That is what the media has to get a hold of, as well as the Democrats got to get a hold of, is that this person is not voting for, they're voting to reinforce a decision.
And I bet for a lot of those people, it's very hard for them to reconcile, boy, I really made a mistake, or wow, I voted for this guy and he's disappointed me. I'm not going to do it again. It must be harder for people to do that than to double down on the bet and say, no, I was right, I'm going to hope for the best, or I don't, or maybe it's subconsciously, I don't want to be wrong he just needs more time, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's one of the struggles, and this is when we got to be careful about this rabbit hole, because you and I can fall down this rabbit hole. It's called, this is what happens when a shame-based narrative takes over. It's called the shame-based narrative. It's dropping down the rabbit hole of, I am going to shame and blame and judge you into voting for me. Authoritarians do it all the way across the board. If you don't vote with me, Mussolini did this all the time. If you don't go with me, look at who I am. He used to stand there and go, I own this. And everybody's going, you do own this.
Right.
And then, don't get started about the other stuff. Right. So the, it's exasperating. It's sort of like, and I hate to use this metaphor. It's just like the darkest metaphor ever. It's like a child waiting for their parent to come home. Their parents promised them, and they're hoping they're going to. And then mom doesn't come home the dad doesn't come home, or child wondering, gosh, is my dad going to be angry today? My mom going to be angry today? I better walk on eggshells. So there's a little bit of I think it's really going to work out. They're really going to come around and love me now, instead of, hey, that person has a lot of pain and then some violence, and this is the luck of the draw, and I did not get it. And I gotta cut my losses and be an independent. Then I have to resolve love and connection later in my marriage, and how sometimes that goes. So we've got to watch how we language things and watch our behavior, and as adults have a lot of compassion for the person that voted against their best interest. Hey, in the past you voted against your best interest. That didn't go so well, and we get the good reason why you voted against your best interest. So here's a way, if you were to be willing to give you my vote for me, here's the way that would work. Here's what I think would work best for us to kind of restore the vote that you cast in the past. Kind of restore.
Wow.
What just
That's
took
what an
place.
interesting thing to do is, if you're a Democrat, to invite those people that voted for Trump.
Absolutely.
Based on the promise of this vision that he set out there. And we've talked about vision in some recent episodes.
You could, a Democrat could actually hijack Trump's Make America Great Again. It could literally hijack it. It could literally, like the Three Card Monte, pull it onto their side.
I would love to hear what that would sound like, Bill, because honestly, that would be brilliant. And I'm sure none of them are thinking anything in the neighborhood of doing that.
Talk to the Trump voter, specifically the 15% of them that are willing to swing. But talk to all of them all at the same time. Listen, you voted for him to meet the need. Take all of his cards away from him. And a debate. Go this way. I really value President Trump's choices to try to meet the need for protection from people coming into our country illegally. And I think it's a value to provide safety for Americans in that way. I do not agree with the way he's doing it. But really, what really needs to happen is, that's called the turn.
Yeah. So you just took all those people that thought you have to vote for Trump in order to be for border security. And now you've gotten them to realize, oh, I can vote for you and be for border security also.
Yeah. And instead of couching it, well, we want it to be proportional. Well, we want to follow what the experts are saying. No, don't do that. Just take all his cards. It's not like his cards are like transparent or something.
They're not that deep, right?
No, you just take the cards. They're all there. He can only play them. It's like, yeah, boy, and let him say the sentence. Well, Elizabeth Warren is, take it. It's like, well, that's because what you're saying is something that's valuable to Americans, and Americans want to have, border security, not the way that you do, or the way you do is exorbitant. But the way I'd like to do it is one that'll still keep money in their pocket. I just turned again to say, gosh, I don't want Americans to spend money on their taxes to overspend on the wall. I'd like a big wall, but not to overspend on a wall. Holy moly bajoli.
Well, or you could easily have pivoted that one to say, a wall may be needed, but not at the expense of schools on our military bases that are meeting the needs of educating those children, because there are these other stories that have come out. I mean, you could pivot that
Correct.
pretty easily.
I would probably go with respect. I would probably pivot to respect. I still want to respect and give fairness to the military children that are going through. And what respect and fairness would look like is keep the money where we allocated it, not to move it over here, where it's more like a gold-plated wall that has Trump's name on it. I don't think that's what we're going for. I guess, maybe we should put President Trump's name every 500 feet on the wall. Let's go ahead and do that. How about if we put his name on every 500 feet? You know what? Maybe we should put a gold-plated name and call it Trump's border wall. Let's do that for every mile that he's going to do and put Trump's name on it. Now, it will literally both excite him and then piss him off, because what you're doing is you're taking his 3 Card Monte play and you're pulling it and go like, well, I guess you could play that game. That game seems like, that has some value to it, because, Trump is a billionaire and a real estate mogul, and maybe we should put his name on the wall. Let's put his name on the wall. It starts to create the ridiculous fallacy of how much money are you going to spend on this? And I guess the coyotes will enjoy looking at it. Coyote. I guess the desert lizards would like to look at Trump's name on a wall that nobody crosses, because it's not necessary, because it could be surveyed by drones instead of having a wall. So interesting, right?
It's fantastic.
Very different way to think about it.
Very different way, because I think most Democratic challengers, when they get into that debate with Trump, would always try to contrast what Trump is doing with what they would do through explanation. And oh my gosh, is that you just may as well, may as well wave the white flag when you do that.
Yeah. You got to watch out there's 7 language patterns. And I know we've done this on another episode.
Definitely.
But there's 7 different language patterns. And if you stay in those 7 language patterns, they just escalate to the worst kind, which is blame and shame. But what Democrats keep walking into is the first 4. We're going to problem solve or fix. We're going to explain or give advice. We're going to go rewards, deals, and punishment, or we're going to rules, duties, and obligations. And what's an impeachment but a capturing of those 4 things? You cannot win in that narrative, because it can always be eclipsed by labels and diagnoses, criticisms, defensiveness, withdrawal. A lot of withdrawal going on, stonewalling, a lot of stonewalling going on, then blaming and shaming. So the blaming and shaming narrative, you could imagine how exasperated I feel listening to this, is that when you get somebody in the corner like he is, and the Republicans are in the corner, they're only left with 3 language styles: blame, shame, criticism, labels, diagnosis, withdraws, and and contempt for the other side. And just look at all the talking pieces right now: contempt,
Oh my gosh,
blame, criticism, labels, diagnoses. Very, very
and
difficult.
and it is difficult. Now, I do think I agree with you. The impeachment inquiry is not going to be a winning path in and of itself. I do think that the Democrats in many ways have got themselves backed into a corner where they have no choice but to do this impeachment inquiry. But it'd be very interesting to see, what comes out of it. It almost may be better to do the whole inquiry, shine light on all the evidence, and not even vote on it, and let the American people vote on it in 2020. I don't know. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about that I think maybe relate to this 3-card Monte thing that's very current, and or what I mentioned before, like the heads I win, tails you lose scenario. It struck me with this whole whistleblower complaint, and now all of the I guess the loose transcripts, the notes that have come out about it, the White House released, which probably was ill-advised if you're somebody who works for the White House. But regardless, it seems to me though that Trump is getting caught in the most obvious hypocrisy ever, where he actually has done exactly what he was asking the Ukrainians to help him find about Biden.
Yes, he is.
And
Exactly
there's
right.
no evidence that Biden actually influenced anybody to try to win favor for his son or get this prosecutor
Doesn't
in the
matter.
Ukraine fired. But Trump,
the
his
dopamine.
evidence is right there that Trump did exactly what he was hoping he would find Biden did.
So this particular play is very interesting. It is going to affect people voting for Biden. So by picking off the front runner, Trump is doing very much the same thing that he did with the other Republicans. I'm picking off one at a time. Then he'll either go after Bernie or he'll have to go after Elizabeth Warren. My guess is he's going to go after Elizabeth Warren next. As soon as Elizabeth goes and gets 5 points ahead of Biden, he'll start beating on her. Okay. She's too smart. She's got this. She's a professor. She's never made as much money as I did. I know more than she did. I've been to those smart schools. They don't know anything there. Whatever. So he's going to start beating on her. See, it's like a really bad dentist on a prolonged dental appointment. It's like the dentist is, and America is going along with this and suffering from this because, the dentist, let me even make it worse. It's a root canal with no Novocaine. It's like there's no numbing of this. It's just pain after pain after pain until finally the body goes unconscious and goes helpless. And believes it. And Rudy Giuliani has demonstrated this. He's saying, get out in front of it, lie, take it back, and redirect. Lie. Wait a minute. Admit, lie, take it, and lie, admit, take it back, redirect. Those four specific steps. Wow. I didn't do it. Yes, I did. See how it says?
Yeah.
I didn't say that. Joe Biden did it. So all the pain is shifting from the thing they did to the person they're landing on. So the brain can't tell the difference. The logical brain can't keep track of that. It can't proportionalize it because the pain brain makes it all the same. It's all painful. Let me do it this way.
I'm processing. It's amazing, Bill. I get it, but wow. So are you saying that this is what Trump is going to do to try to make this whole whistleblower complaint thing go away, or to try to make it
yeah, by the end of it, it's going to be people are exhausted and Joe Biden is dirty. That's what's going to be at the end.
So he may very well succeed in tanking Joe Biden's candidacy.
That's correct.
Which is similar to how he picked off Jeb Bush in the Republican primaries and one person after another until
they were doomed.
Then he was the only man left standing and actually ends up getting the primary votes.
Exactly. It's the only one standing because everyone else is looking like chumps. They're looking like, listen, all he's doing is what any good marketing and salesperson is doing, not one of integrity. One, because a marketing salesperson that's in integrity offers a product or service, asks for money for it, and delivers value for it. And the customer is happy at the end going like, oh my God, I just got further ahead. With the money I spent, I'd spend another 10,000 with this person. I'm coming back and shopping here.
Sure.
But when somebody is selling something,
the sizzle that has no stake behind it, right?
Yeah. Trump stakes, Trump, make a list, airline, Trump's football, Trump's whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
All he's doing is marketing and selling. He doesn't have anybody there else to run the thing that he just sold other than people that are doing what he tells them to do, which is deliver an inferior product and charge a premium price. That's what he has in place. Premium price. That's what America's paying right now at a modest or low delivery impact to only the most important people. So the 1% gets it. But
sure.
Because he's gonna deliver to the people that have the money. He's not gonna deliver to the people that don't have the money. Come on now.
Well, but he wants to make them all believe they're getting things that they need.
Yeah. I'll tell them that this used car is the best used car ever. So its tires falling off, and I'm not going to tell you about the radiator, and the brakes are going to be out in about 3 months. But you might as well be buying this other thing instead of this. So it's very, very unsettling and very, very hard and very, very challenging.
So it'll be interesting to see the dynamic going forward of this impeachment inquiry playing out and how much damage does that do to the president. But at the same time, there's this parallel process going forward with the Democrats who are, fighting to be the nominee. And, it's interesting. I was having a talk with my wife recently about the candidates, and it was very interesting where, I was of the opinion, as you and I have talked in recent episodes, how the candidate that sets the vision, especially in the wake of this impeachment inquiry, which is now taken hold of the process. They've even come out and said it is an impeachment inquiry now, which they hadn't been saying for months because, oh no, well, we haven't decided if we're going to impeach yet.
Yeah.
But now they're saying, yes, that's what it is. We're moving forward with it. And it is about foreign interference in a U.S. election. And you and I have talked a few times in the past how if a Democratic candidate would set the vision that I am going to put an end to this, make sure no one will interfere in our elections ever again. And so I've been saying to her, one of the candidates, if they just would come out and do this, they would absolutely become the front runner, get the nomination, and probably have a better chance at beating Trump down the road.
Yeah.
She has a different opinion that it's too early to set the vision, that when these candidates are really trying to set themselves apart from each other, that it's too soon. If they set the vision now, Trump would find a way to purchase that vision truth over to himself, that they should wait to do it until later. I'm curious what you think of that.
Okay, so in reflection of what a African American did to become a president,
Okay.
is that he did vision and then new vision, then new vision, then new vision. He tracked and became the leader in those visions. We are refocusing on Afghanistan. We are we're going 700 billion to bail out. That's the number that we're choosing. That's the best number. The Republicans were scrambling because he kept yanking the narrative away from them, because they were trying to, no, that won't work. No, that won't work. No, they were always playing catch up, and therefore, McCann had his problems with it and Mitt Romney had his problems with it. It's like, because I'd rather go with that guy. That guy's stable and he knows what he's appearing to know what he's doing, and he's sort of delivering. Now, the other side is lobbying all kinds of things, cannons, grenades, missiles at his presidency. And even when they did that, the stuff that Boehner did and the stuff that Mitch McConnell did, even when they did that, he got a lot of stuff done. Now, because Trump came in as the anti-person of that,
right,
and Hillary did not capture a compelling vision plus vision plus vision plus vision, it became very difficult for that to take place.
So you think continuing to set vision after vision is a winning strategy, and that maybe it doesn't matter what how Trump's going to react to that down the road?
Right. Play your version of Three Card Monte in your messaging. Your version, not his version. You can point out his version as being bankrupt. You can actually steal one of his cards if you want.
Sure.
But his version is immigration, economy, we can.
Well, yeah, you showed.
I could probably spell that out a click cleaner. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. No, you pointed out very
game.
well how somebody could really purchase his, border security truth from him and turn it into their winning, one of their winning, messages.
Right. And Trump could say, wow, Elizabeth Warren is coming around to see how important, border security is. And then she gets to say the magical sentence. If he were to say, gosh, he'll say, even Elizabeth Warren agrees with me. She gets to say, yes, I agree. We need to put your name on this wall so Americans can remember how you spent and wasted their money.
Whoa. And no one would ever be able to think of anything else. The memes that would come out on social media about the wall with the Trump sign, I mean, it's all anybody would be able to think about. And then it makes that wall look so self-serving, doesn't it?
That's right.
Meets his need for respect.
See, cartoonists in newspapers used to have a field day in this space. But the problem is that we don't do newspapers anymore. We do memes. So what needs to happen is that if a meme goes viral, which is the new public discourse regarding the way these things the way information is dispensed, it's not dispensed through this thing called the newspaper. It's dispensed this thing called a computer, which you and I are doing. You and I are trying to get the needle to move towards truth. Yeah. Just get it to move towards truth. How do we get that to move? And what do we have? Our words, number one.
Yeah.
Our persistence, number two. Our wisdom, knowledge, and experience, number three. That's what we're doing here. So
and I love it. It's so much fun. It's really fun. This has been great today, Bill. Thank you so much. I think I certainly have a better understanding, and I appreciate the 3 card Monte metaphor. So thank you for sharing that.
next time, let's work on this micro messaging of the three card Monte. I think that would be a good way so that the audience can really get a hold of. Here's a micro message that gets the brain to think in a way that we would like it to think, that's more in alignment with truth. Here's a message that gets the brain to is messaged into the blind spot of the brain, so the brain can't see that as true.
Okay.
That
so
there's micro messages that activate the brain to say, oh yeah, probably so. There's actives against, well, I feel doubt and skepticism about that. Because there is a physiological shift because words are vibrations. Vibrations change when they hit our ears. They're being adjusted through the filter that is already in the person's brain. So what we're interested in doing is making sure those messages that activate truth, activate respect, activate integrity, follow the rule of law, land to go, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. Because if we give this guy a pass, we're giving everybody else a pass. They get to say, well, what if? Well, you didn't do it for that guy.
Right.
Hence the multiple double standards and blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. Thomas, has been great. A lot of fun, and looking forward to our next one.
Me too. Okay, Bill. See you next time.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.